We're going to step away from the president's remarks. Our producers will continue to listen. If there's any news, we're going to bring it to you because we have some additional breaking news. The confirmation hearing for President Trump's pick to be Director of National Intelligence, it is now officially canceled. It comes after a tense standoff between the president and Republicans on the Hill, who were going to proceed with that hearing even after Trump said it was canceled. MS Now's Michael Schnell is on the Hill. Michael, what happened here?
Yeah, Alicia, this all started at that 3:54 a.m. Truth Social post from President Trump when he said that the Senate should not move forward with Jay Clayton's nomination to be Director of National Intelligence until his replacement at the Southern District of New York is installed, is confirmed. And that sort of thwarted all of these plans up here on Capitol Hill because, as you mentioned, Jay Clayton, his pick to be DNI, was supposed to appear for a hearing, a confirmation hearing, before the Senate Intelligence Committee this afternoon. Now, in light of that Truth Social post, Tom Cotton, the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, said that his panel would continue with the hearing as planned unless there were two things. President Trump directed Jay Clayton not to appear, or if President Trump had yanked Jay Clayton's nomination. Well, just within the last few minutes, Alicia, we got some news on that front that President Trump directed Jay Clayton not to appear for this hearing, prompting Tom Cotton to postpone it. Tom Cotton writing in a post on X that it's unfortunate that the president had told Jay Clayton not to appear. This has some real serious implications up here on Capitol Hill because Republicans were trying to fast track Jay Clayton's nomination to be DNI because they wanted to get him installed by tomorrow afternoon. Really, Democrats wanted to try and prevent Bill Pulte, who's right now the head of the Housing Finance Agency, to prevent him from taking acting DNI job come Friday. Democrats and Republicans very concerned that Bill Pulte has no previous intelligence experience. Democrats are also worried that he may use that perch in the intelligence community to dig up damaging information about some of President Trump's political opponents and use that to your advantage. You'll remember that Bill Pulte had those mortgage fraud recommendations against some of President Trump's foremost political opponents. So for that reason, they were trying to fast track this nomination. But once again, in a dynamic that we have seen a number of times here in Washington in recent weeks, President Trump cut the ground from under Republicans, and now the state of Jay Clayton's nomination to be DNI, that is on hold. And critically, so is an extension of FISA, the U.S.'s warrantless surveillance powers. It's a very key national security tool that the administration uses to thwart terrorist attacks. In fact, about 2/3 of the daily presidential brief on intelligence comes from information that is gathered through FISA. So there are some real implications here. And the one more thing I'll leave you with, Alicia, this morning, very early this morning, the president said that he wouldn't go forward with Jay Clayton's nomination, his confirmation, until his replacement at SDNY was confirmed. Well, I'm told by a source familiar with the matter that the White House hasn't even sent the information for Clayton's replacement, that SDNY nominee, hasn't even sent the paperwork yet to the Senate, which means that we are nowhere close to getting the ball rolling on that process.
Michael, I worry sometimes the way we talk about this, it sounds like a game of musical chairs. You very rightfully point out the fact that FISA right now hangs in the balance. What's at stake for American national security, especially as we watch the president on stage at the G7 talking about the Iran agreement that he says he is going to sign, quote, tomorrow or maybe the next day, as the president talks about the ongoing war in Ukraine? What is the danger to the American people of not having a director of national intelligence in place?
Yeah, it's taking a key figure in the administration, somebody who oversees about 18 national security and intelligence agencies, and taking them out of place. But for Democrats, they see it as more damaging if you were to install somebody like Bill Pulte. In fact, statutorily speaking, in the law, it says that the director of national intelligence needs to have subsequent intelligence experience. Bill Pulte doesn't have any of that. They're also concerned that he could maybe mess around with the upcoming midterm elections in November. And there's also this fear, again, that he could use his position, having power, having the keys to some of the most sensitive intelligence. He can use that for political matters. So it's always sort of a weighing of your options and situations up here. And Democrats say that it would just be so damaging to not to have Bill Pulte as acting DNI. But to your point, the world is on fire right now. There's the conflict going on in Iran. There's still fighting happening between Russia and Ukraine. Even on the homeland right now in the United States, we're seeing the FIFA FIFA World Cup take place across the country. There are a number of events coming up for America 250. Not having a firm director of national intelligence in place during that time, or for Democrats and some Republicans, not having someone they trust, and even potentially more damaging and more of a concern, not having something like FISA in place to collect new intelligence and new materials. That is causing a lot of concern, not just for Democratic lawmakers, for Republican lawmakers as well, and for national security experts who say that that tool is just so sacred and so important for how the United States protects itself.
MS Now's Michael Schnell following a dynamic situation for us on Capitol Hill. Michael, thank you so much. I want to bring into our conversation former acting assistant AG for national security Mary McCord and New York Times national political correspondent Lisa Lehrer. David Rohde, on the question of FISA, where does this now go from here, given the wrench that the president has thrown into Republicans' plans?
The more time that passes where Congress does not renew FISA, the bigger the danger. And Mary McCord, it's great she's here. She knows this far better than I do. But this is the most important surveillance program that the United States has, that produces half the president's daily briefing. It's thwarted terrorist attacks in the United States. And the president is prioritizing a loyalist with no experience, Bill Pulte, getting that job, that is more important than this program continuing. And Michael mentioned this, and I don't want to highlight worst-case scenarios. There's lots of evidence that from experts and others that I've heard that President Trump is insisting on Bill Pulte so that he can use him to interfere in the midterm elections in November. That is what the former director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, did, where she was spreading his conspiracy theories about elections, went down and seized election records in Fulton County, Georgia, which is unprecedented. And the claim from the Trump administration is that the director of national intelligence, this would be Bill Pulte, would have the power to go inspect voting machines and somehow take over authority to secure our elections. That belongs to state and local governments. So this, I think, is all about Trump's efforts to interfere and sway the results of the midterm elections.